I just had to add this to my TBR this month because everybody and his dog and his cat and even his bloody goldfish had read this thing and I hadn't yet. Well, now I did, and I want to talk about it. All right, everybody. So I'm kind of late to the game on this one. I think this was published back in 2017. The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo was written by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I mean, this has been on the top of the New York Times bestseller list and so many bestseller lists for years now. And even this is probably old, that over 2 million copies sold. It's probably way more than that now. And, you know, I mean, I got to be honest with you guys about something. I find it difficult to get excited about novels, especially modern novels, unless it has some sort of classic, sort of philosophical bent to it. I have a hard time justifying it. Well, as you know, restarting up this channel, I'm dedicating a lot more time to that sort of thing, and you know, like reviewing books like that, which you've seen everywhere, and yeah. So the Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo had to be added, and you know what? It was worth it. It was very worth it. I really like it. It's not that big of a read. I think it's, let's see here, 389 pages. Very fast moving. The plot is, you know, bubble gum. You can't stop chewing on it. It definitely explores some really interesting themes. You know, talks mainly about celebrity, the cost of fame, talks about sexuality a lot, you know, with the LGBTQ theme there. And, you know, I'm not going to get into too many of the details on that because that'll spoil the story. But it does actually pop up through various plot lines in the book. And, you know, I mean, I think that's good. You know, if it's good to see, you know, those sort of narratives in modern literature because, you know, these people exist too, right? And they need to feel seen. And I think it's good for everybody to be exposed to, you know, different kinds of people and different ways of being. So I appreciated that. I also thought it was really neat because, you know, I don't know if the whole Harvey Weinstein and #MeToo movement had happened after this. I think it came a little later because if I'm not mistaken, this was early 2017. But it was certainly parallel with the whole #MeToo movement. And I found that really interesting because it also explores the theme of careerism. You know, like you got this, I don't think it's a spoiler because you see it right away. The main character is, you know, a real power character and big social climber, very Machiavellian, if you will, although she does have a heart. And, you know, you see this interplay of, you know, the need to have it all and the ambition and what she sacrifices for that. I was also happy to see another theme that doesn't pop up too often, but it's extremely relevant in the past decade or so. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, it was either 2015 or 2017 in Canada when the whole medical assistance in dying, the MAID legislation and judicature really started to be adopted and used. And it sort of coincides with another book here I want to mention. This is worth it. If you like novels, read this. This is a legal thriller, and it was released, oh, well, more recently than this one, but it's written by Beverly McLaughlin, who was who is the former Chief Justice of the Canadian Supreme Court, and she had a husband who, you know, was very sick and died early and suffered a lot. And she, you know, I think in the early 90s, this question of medical assistance in dying had come up, and she was on one side while the whole court was on the other side. And she said by the time she left and got to rule, one of the last rulings she made was on MAID, you know, judicature, if you will. And she said she had come full circle. The whole court had sided on you know, in favor of that, which I think is very humane, you know, that really points to the progress that society is making. And this was very like The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo for that reason. Not very similar in other ways, but similar in that the book starts out with a journalist who had covered the whole topic of medical assistance in dying. So I really thought that was a neat angle, and really valuable to put in there to just broaden the public's mind on these things, because, coming out of a very religious point of view, or a traditionalist point of view in our society, we have a lot of superstitions tied into that sort of topic. And if we could just see it for what it is, healthcare, and ask the questions that are really relevant, which is how do we reduce suffering in the world, and be compassionate while valuing life. These narratives need to be told and they need to be heard. Aside from all those sort of political discussions that she weaves throughout the book, and it doesn't preach at you, it's part of the narrative, right? It's really, really strong for the character development and the just the whole intrigue of celebrity. You get real Elizabeth Taylor vibes off of this. And it's actually kind of a horny book too, if you want some steamy parts in a novel. I haven't read any Taylor Jenkins Reid, but I certainly will keep my eyes open for some of her works in the future. There's other authors like this that, like Sally Rooney, for example. I had opened my mind up to her a little bit, even though it's, as I say, that's not really where I gravitate towards, because I always think it's going to be like YA. You know what I mean? You're not going to have philosophy or politics come up, and that's where most of my reading is in nonfiction. And so it's nice to see that pop up in fiction. And Sally Rooney is kind of like that. And Silvio Moreno Garcia, I think I'm saying that name right, I had read Mexican Gothic, which was, again, really popular among the kids. Now that I've read this author, I can add it to my list and not sort of have this prejudice that I've had towards modern novels. So I've said a lot of positive about this book. I think I rounded up to 5 stars in Goodreads for it. I don't know, I would probably place it, on the better part of 4.5 and round it up, and here's why. There was something kind of annoying in her writing. It's certainly nothing that would dissuade me from reading her works in the future, but Taylor Jenkins Reid, in this book, you get sort of predictable responses. It's kind of like, think of a really sort of cliched situation where someone's cheating on another person, on their significant other. And then the character says something along the lines of, oh, but I was thinking of you the whole time. Her narrative isn't quite that bad, but there are some parts where it's like, you could have been more imaginative with the interactions, the dialogue in the book. But overall, it was pretty good. It's certainly no reason not to read it. Anyway, tell me what you think of The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I mean, this was such a blockbuster kind of a read. So I know that there's going to be a lot of, positive and negative, mostly positive things that you guys have to say about it. And if you have some questions about what I thought of the book or certain parts of it, I'd love to discuss it with you below in the comments. So thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you in the next one. Hey everyone, I hope you liked this video. If you want more like the one you just watched, click the suggested video on this screen. Make sure you subscribe, and to connect with me on my other platforms, my handles are linked below in the description, alright? Take care, peeps. Till next time.